welcome the Idaho Falls Police Honor Guard for the first ever raising of the flag. So it was the first ever raising of the colors for the Idaho Falls Police Department. You'll notice the flag's been lowered to half mast. If we could please have a moment of silence for the Ada County Deputy Tobin Bolter, whose end of watch happened this last weekend after 7 years of service for Ada County, Meridian Police Department, and Pleasant Hill Police Department. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. I'd now like to introduce Mayor Rebecca Casper, the mayor of the great city of Idaho Falls, and without her, this would have never happened.
Wow, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. And lucky you guys, even though we're making you stand in the parking lot, your back is to the sun a little bit, and so it's a bright, beautiful day. We have so many guests with us today, and the chief had already done some acknowledgments here, but I want to note that we have elected officials here, city, state, and county. Thank you so much for taking time to come out. I see Senator Cook, thank you. Council members. We have council members from previous years as well. I saw Gary Mills out there, and there's probably some I'm missing because I haven't scanned the crowd. I was too busy enjoying the flag ceremony. Thank you, Stephanie Mickelson as well, Representative Mickelson. We also have chamber ambassadors here. They're not running this particular ribbon cutting, but we appreciate the chamber's support. We have many other community and business leaders. We have Idaho Falls Police Foundation members, probably. The chaplains of Idaho are here. We also have members of the media and members of the public who are just maybe a little bit curious about all that's happening here today. And we extend a special welcome to the children who are in our midst and hope that you enjoy this process, even though there's a lot of grown-ups talking. Anyway, this is a truly wonderful day. As the chief has mentioned, it's been a long time coming, and we're grateful to celebrate it together. In the past several years, the city of Idaho Falls has had ribbon cuttings for many municipal facilities. The Idaho Fire Department's headquarters and Station 1 facility in downtown Idaho Falls. I think we cut that ribbon in, I think it's 2017, but I'm hazy. Let's see, the Maytown Education Center at the Idaho Falls Zoo at Tapas Park. Big, great addition there. We cut a ribbon to celebrate the extensive remodeling of the interior, the new chairs and carpeting and stage accoutrement, all right, at what is now called the Frontier Center. We've cut ribbons for intersections like 17th and Hitt, and we did that with our friends in Ammon. We more recently celebrated the widening of the intersection at 17th and Woodruff. We cut a ribbon across Pancarry. What is it, Pancarry Road? Pancarry Street? Anyway, sorry, I need to go look that. I just call it Pancarry. But we were celebrating the widening of that street and sidewalks, as well as the installation of flashing beacons that made that road safer for hundreds of school kids. Some of you may remember the ribbon cutting for the 4th Street underpass that saw its first accident about 5 minutes after we finished clapping. A truck drove in, hit it, and got a little bit stuck. And then, Michelle, I saw a lovely plaque with our names on it at the wastewater treatment facility. We've done a lot of building and growing. We've cut a lot of ribbons, and we're blessed to live in a city like this that has a lot to celebrate. And now here we are, gathered to do another ribbon cutting. But like each project and accomplishment before, this new Idaho Falls Police Complex is not just a new city building and not just another ribbon cutting. It feels so much more special. It represents an investment in our community that is broad and sweeping. It affects every resident. It will serve the residents for decades to come. And we've often referred to this as a 50-year building, but in reality it may need to stand for a lot longer than that. City Hall itself is approaching 100 years old. Please take note that this is not a police station. We're calling it the Idaho Falls Police Complex, as the chief has already noted. And key to this is understanding that it's more than just a place of comings and goings for patrol officers who are on shift and coming in to write up their reports. This building is not just a headquarters where the department senior leadership will have meetings and have offices. This building is a complex. There's more than one building here. It is intended to eventually do just about everything. It's the first standalone police facility that the city has ever had. For those of you with siblings, maybe more than one sibling, do you remember the time when you got your own bedroom for the first time? Think about that. Those of you, and if you're an only child, you may not understand what I'm saying. But if you ever had to share a room and you got your own room, think about that and then multiply it by at least 100 times. And this is about that much better. This is exciting. The building allows the Idaho Falls Police Department to bring together under one roof for the first time in what I can guess is probably close to 100 years, almost all of IFPD's all of our IFPD's programs and services. I'm guessing when I say 100 years, and the chief said 130, and the difference is this. Our historic City Hall building is, as I said earlier, nearly a century old, and there are still remnants in that building of what used to be a jail cell. And that tells me that law enforcement at one time at least operated a little bit out of City Hall. And if there are any historians out there who want to set me straight and give me more info, I'm happy to learn from you. But you'll note that we're saying almost all of our services are now under one roof. In recent years, we have had police operations, offices, and storage sites spread out all over the city in public and private buildings in as many as 8 places at a time that I know of, and who knows if there aren't others that I don't know of. But some of those spaces were donated, some for a time, probably out of pity, and thank you if you were one of those who donated one of those spaces. But we still will have, even after today, our dispatch operations, or more accurately, our emergency communications professionals. That center is still located off-site. It's currently on the northwest corner of Skyline and Grandview, and they're going to stay there for a time, or for a while, into the foreseeable future. We haven't had that discussion about bringing them here. We also affectionately call our shooting range, which is a space many miles west of town, that right now is still there, although the plans and hopes and dreams are call for our shooting range for officers to practice, right? They have to be accurate, right? A shooting range is important. That right now is envisioned to also be located here on site. And if you get a chance to take a tour at some point, ask them to show you the patch of land in the back that we've reserved for that. In this time of remarkable growth for our city, it's clear to me, and hopefully to you, that having a complex is just what we need to enhance the safety and security of our community. The chief's going to tell you more about what goes on or will go on here in the building, but I can say that having nearly all of the team assembled in one location will increase efficiency, and that's, I think, pretty obvious to folks. You're not having to travel somewhere else to have a meeting or communicate. But this will help to build our teams within the police department. And teamwork is of vital importance for our officers and the non-sworn civilian personnel who support them. And I guess when I say that, I'm talking about that teaming in the business, leadership, the MBA person sense, where we talk about building teams and getting everybody rowing in the same direction, and it increases, it's optimal and it increases productivity and yada yada. I'm talking about that. But I'm also referring to team building in the chain of command sort of way, where our officers must, and quite literally do, have each other's backs in times of peril. I cannot tell you how touched I was to see an officer's recent body cam video, when in a moment of crisis with high intensity, one officer reached out and put his hand on the back of his colleague who was holding the bulletproof shield. And then the officer behind that officer reached out and placed his hand on another officer's shoulder. And I asked the chief a little bit about this. Well, first of all, if not for the shield, there were later in that chain of events, shots were fired, and if not for the shield, the injury would have occurred. We'd have less to celebrate today. But our officers practice teaming. They take care of each other. They have each other's backs. It's important for them to have a space in which to do that. So my friends and fellow citizens of this beautiful community, I want you to know that teamwork is not simply terminology. Many of the people who work here must and do literally have each other's backs. And I'm grateful that they will have a place where they can work, train, plan, coordinate, work out, don their protective gear, and serve together. My second campaign had a slogan, Better Together, and it was in reference to our building our community. The Greater Idaho Falls Chamber now has a similar slogan, which is as accurate as it can be when it comes to talking about our business community. We're better together. And I'm saying right now that life and death accuracy is applied to this phrase too for the department. Our folks are better when they're together. The facility is not going to make a difference for, not only just going to make a difference for the department, however, residents will also benefit from the facility. As the city council members were debating, all that went into buying land, figuring out how to fund this facility, figuring out what blueprints they liked, all of that. It was very important for the council members that this become a community space and that there be community space here. And in fact, there is a wonderful community room that can be used as a gathering place when it's not being used for department or city business. Off the lobby and in other places within the building, there are safe, secure, clean, and comfortable spaces for crime victims to be able to be interviewed in privacy, which is unlike the space where we came from. As you tour, you'll also see that the lobby itself is designed to meet the needs of the law-abiding public without having to take you through the metal detectors. You can get records. You can even access a beautiful restroom with the most amazing baby-changing table I've seen in a long time. It's beautiful. So today would not be possible without an incredible amount of people and hard work and dedication. I cannot hope to properly recognize everyone, but there are just a couple of people with us that I want to point out who were really instrumental, kind of the unsung heroes. There's first of all the city council members who took a chance back in November 2020 when they authorized a public financing methodology known as certificates of participation. That netted us an interest rate of 1.89%. That's what we owe on this building for the money that we borrowed to build it. And that was back in December of 2020. Now, back then, not everybody was impressed with the 1.89%, but I'm thinking today, at least a couple realtors out there must think that's pretty cool, and I sure do. That will be with us for the life of this loan. Other city officials, in particular, Pam Alexander, whose leadership netted us that incredible interest rate. Also Chris Canfield, who impressed everyone with his highly capable administration of the project and management of the contractors. Thank you to both of you for being just really good at what you do. We also have Arden Smith, as the Chief earlier mentioned, from Orman Builders. We have representatives from, now I need my glasses, so much for the big print. I hand wrote a few things in here, but we have from NBW Architects, we have Tucker Hatterley. We also have, as mentioned earlier, Mr. Baca and Mr. McManus. Committee members, or excuse me, I want to thank the Facilities Evaluation Citizens Committee members. They were led by Realtor Chris Lee back in 2019, and each of them put in hours and hours as they studied and determined, do they really need a new building? If they need to build one, why can't you just put it in the old DI building? Why can't you put it in the old Shopko space? Why do you need it to be a standalone facility? If so, why? Prove it to us. And that committee asked all of those questions, the ones that the public was asking. And they vetted it, and they produced a report that provided enough insight and enough data that we were convinced, the council members were convinced later that same year to purchase this property. The old Stockyards property, we hope this transformation of this part of Northgate Mile will catalyze future growth and investment in this area. And finally, we're awfully fortunate to have our IFPD members here, both sworn officers and civilian members of the department. We thank you, all of you who are here today, not just for your service, but your willingness to give your very best in all the preceding years. Gary Mills, a former council member, told us that back in the 90s, they were talking about a need for a new facility. So all those 30 years of awareness that a facility was needed, we've had people serve their entire careers with this department, and they've done so nobly and well. And yet they did it in maybe less than perfect facilities. All right, so I thank everybody for celebrating this special day with us. And I encourage you, when you can, if you haven't already, to sign up for a tour, because you will not appreciate the half of it until you get inside. I don't know, the Chief will give details on that option. And Chief, I'm going to turn it over to you now to teach us a little bit more about what we need to know about this building.
I think I have the mayor's phone, so that kind of gives you some power. I will try to wield that power very carefully and use it as a rock here. I'm going to try to be brief, but it was I'm going to go with 100 years to get this thing done, so I might take a couple of minutes. Just forgive me. I don't think we're going to get to do this again for another 100 or so years. The mayor already gave out a lot of thank yous. I just really want to thank a few people also. First off, the mayor's being a little bit humble about it. I got the great honor to interview for the chief's job here about 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago. Time flies. And one of the questions she had was, what's your experience in a police facility in building one, because we need to build one. And it was a mission given from the very first day to get it done. And at every step with the Citizens Committee, she helped pick the people on the Citizens Committee, helped ask for them. When it came to funding, she championed that certificate of participation. When it came to building, she shepherded the whole thing through, and I'm convinced it would have never happened without her incredible support. The city can, and I'm going to say this, and sometimes I think, well, you're just pandering to people because they're your boss. If I haven't mentioned, I've been doing this for a long time. I can walk away any day I want to. I don't need to pander to anyone. These are very sincerely felt feelings I have. So. Councilmember Michelle Zeal-Dingman, my first year, she insisted on $100,000 in our budget for the needs assessment and never get started without that. She fought for it every single year. She was on the committee that got that certificate of participation that helped get the 1 point whatever % it was, and it just never happens without her. Jim Francis and Jim Freeman were my liaisons, and they just were so supportive the entire way through. Lisa Burtonshaw came on after the project was done, but helped shepherd it to the very end and helped out so much. Tom Halley, I don't know if you were here in 1990 when they started working on it. A little later, but Tom Halley got the full experience and did so much for it. Shelley Smead as well. That citizens committee the mayor talked about doesn't happen without them. Chris Canfield, you know, he's from Public Works. I think he's sitting right over there somewhere. I think our first communication was in an email, and never communicate in an email, because he was like, that chief sucks. And I was like, what the crap is wrong with Chris? And we decided to sit down and actually meet in person. I was like, that makes a lot of sense, yeah. He's like, well, you're not as mean and a horrible person as I thought you were. And this thing does not get built, certainly not under budget like it was without him. And I'm so grateful for him and Public Works. Tucker and Arden, the architect, the local architect, and Arden built it. I talked to Arden quite a bit. Well, it was quite a bit, I thought. We'd walk through, and I didn't build anything. It was amazing to me how they built stuff. And, you know, there's always a little bit of, like Tucker's, and they're here to make money. I hope I'm not insulting them. And we're here to save money. And there's a little bit of conflict in that, and that's fine. We'll work all that out. That's part of the natural way of doing stuff. But he put his heart and soul into building this thing. We had one of the national architect groups came through and said, we don't see this quality of construction around the country, and just so grateful for everything they did. Pam Alexander, Municipal Services, the mayor talked about the funding, but the purchasing department, if you get to go in there, everything in there had to be bought, and they did that. The IT people putting everything together, building maintenance, were just phenomenal. And then the police department, this has been a project that's happened for a long time. Royce Clements, our captain that's now retired, started it. Joel Tisdale, our captain that's about to retire, carried it forward. And then Deputy Chief Jeremy Gelbreth took it over and got it across the finish line, and it does not stand today without him. But most of all, I just want to say thank you to Idaho Falls. Thank you, Idaho Falls community citizens, for supporting this. We're so grateful for you. There's a little bit of pride for some of the older officers. We were going to do a commemorative badge for I Survived the LEB. If you never got a chance to walk into that building, we're grateful for all the time we had in there with the county, so I don't want to disparage the county, but it was an experience. The records folks, I'm not going to call them the records ladies, but the folks working in records who, hello out there, the ceiling came in and there was some sort of bucket of water up there that had been sitting there for like 30 years. No one knows what was in that thing, but it drops right on top of all the records folks' head and kind of douses them. The drinking fountains at different times had sewage back up in them. The place smelled like marijuana all the time. You probably always thought your police officers were doing something crazy because the place smelled like marijuana. I'm not going to go into all the history of it, but boy, we needed a new place, and we're so grateful for it. This new building has so many features that are going to make us more operational and serve this city for such a long time. First off, did anyone have trouble finding this place today? It's a great big blue building on Northgate Mile. You can't miss it. We got a sign right out there that says Idaho Falls Police, and one right on the side of the building, something that has never existed. You're going to be able to find it. People used to not be able to find us. Now they can. If you get down in the evidence area, there's 4 refrigerators and a freezer. We collect so much biological evidence. We have to keep it for 60 plus years. We ran out of space. We just didn't have anywhere to put it. Our evidence space is tripled. Our crime lab is phenomenal. There's a vehicle examination base, so all the cars that are involved in sexual assaults and homicides and all those horrible things we have to investigate, we can really take a look at what happened there. And then the crime lab space where we can do the alternate light source, the fingerprint, the DNA extraction, and utilize all our tools, just phenomenal. The training space, the classrooms for doing the classroom training. There's a mat room for doing defensive tactics, Archon, jiu-jitsu training. To be able to put up our virtual reality simulator and to put our police officers in any scenario they could possibly think of. I forget the name, the Mantis laser, is it Mantis, is that the right word? The Mantis laser system for our officers to practice their firearm skills, that's actually going to the range. All that training space makes our officers so much more trained, but also does it so much more efficiently. What used to take us 8 hours to do a training evolution is down to about 2 hours, which allows us to put more police officers out onto the street. The interview and interrogation space is just incredible. One of my favorite features is there's a bathroom in that area. It's a suspect bathroom. And you might think you can go in there and just flush your cocaine or heroin or fentanyl down the toilet and escape the consequences of it. You would not be successful if you tried to do that, because there is a key and the water does not flow until we turn the key. So good luck getting rid of anything. It's just, whoever thought of that is brilliant. I wish I'd have thought of it. The employee wellness spaces, there's a couple of lactation rooms in the building. We have so many more female employees who want to be a family organization to support them. The fitness room, physical fitness is a huge part of what we do as police officers and other employees. It benefits both physical health and also mental health. And as these folks have to do some of the hardest things in the world, it's just a phenomenal space. The detective space, the digital forensics lab is amazing with the Faraday room and the people in there. The detective space, patrol space. The building here is right in the center of our kind of heat map where most of our calls are, so our response time is going to be highly improved. This building is going to serve the community of Idaho Falls for decades to come. And I hope I'm not here, I don't know, maybe they'll come with some cool medical invention, but I think 130 years from now, precious few of us are still going to be here. But my prediction is 130 years from now, they may be looking at another ribbon cutting, but it's probably not going to happen. So this is probably going to serve us for about 130 years. The building is phenomenal, and we are so grateful for it. But the police department is not a building, it's not a car, it's not equipment. The police department is the people that walk the halls of this building. And the mayor touched on it a little bit, but in the coming days, we're going to release some video of some of Idaho Falls' finest under extreme duress, acting with courage and with honor. There's been 3 attempts to shoot and kill Idaho Falls police officers in the past 4 months. 8 Idaho Falls police officers have been under fire in the past 4 months. That's 8% of the department. To put that in context, that's about 1 out of every 10 police officers in Idaho Falls is taking incoming gunfire. You will not find a department in the country that has that statistic right now, unless it's like a 2-person department that had 1 person shot at. There's no department of our size that has gone through that in the last 4 months. And they have just responded phenomenally. The current employees of the Idaho Falls Police Department, the police officers, the detectives, the dispatchers, the records people, code enforcement, animal services, admin assistants, all of our support people, they are statistically and by far the hardest working and most productive and efficient employees that this city and police department have ever had in the history of Idaho Falls. They have done amazing things with facilities that were a little bit less than ideal. I'm so excited to see what they're going to accomplish over the next coming years. If you get a chance, do it carefully, because you don't want to sneak up and surprise a police officer. Don't come up behind and go, like you might to your kids or something like that. But take a minute and approach one of these fine officers, shake their hand. I originally wrote hug them, but someone edited me, said, no, don't ask people to hug them. That would just be weird. But if you get a chance, you might even try that, and just tell them thank you for what they do every day, because they're what makes this police department work. And last of all, can I just say thank you, Idaho Falls. I love this city. It's a great city, and thank you for everything, and thank you for letting us be here. Mayor, if you want to come back and take over for ribbon cutting.
Thank you, Chief. I did forget at least 2 things. One is that Animal Services is also located off-site, and I also did not see until I moved. Wendy Corman is also with us. Thank you, Representative Corman. All right, so we're going to cut a ribbon. Jessica, I'll invite you to come and grab the ribbon and get your helpers to stretch it out. I will invite current City Council members, Council President Burton Shaw, Jim Francis, Jim Freeman, Kirk Larson, and Michelle Zeal-Dingman. John Radford could not be with us today. I also want to invite very recently serving council members Tom Halley and Shelley Smead to come and join us. Chief Johnson will be joining the ribbon cutting group along with the rest of the department brass. That would be Deputy Chief Galbraith. We have the Captains Marley and Brian Trimble. We also would like to invite Mr. Smith from Orman Builders and our architects, Mr. Hatterley, Mr. Willis, and Mr. Baca. Please come on up and join us. And then Pam Alexander from Municipal Services, please join us. And Chris Canfield, you have a special place in our heart. Now, his boss, Chris Fredrickson, also took a lead helping us. And Chris, if you're here, you're welcome to come on up. We thank you for both your help and for letting us borrow Chris for this project. So everybody come on up. Chief, we're going to give you the scissors. And we're going to get in line for the photo op. And we probably need to be squished together a bit, right? Okay.
And I'm going to give the scissors to Deputy Chief Jeremy Galbraith, who put it across the finish line.
Not yet, Jeremy. Not yet.
Here, you come in here. I'll be taller.
I'm not taller than
You're good. Don't worry about it.
All right, so thank you all for coming. We do have 2 options for you. If you want to walk through the building now, we do have the availability to take some people through, but it will be pretty crowded, but you're welcome to do so. If you'd like to walk through when it's not quite so crowded, you can get on the Idaho Falls Police website at idahofallspolice.com and sign up for a tour time. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to the Idaho Falls Police Department.
You want to say anything?